today on the Tearsheet Podcast.
Think about what we want as individuals, right? We want the friction taken out of our interaction with our financial institution. And that's really what we do at Temenos, right? That's our vision. It's our strategy. It's what we plan to do in the Americas, Canada, US, and LATAM, is to really make banking better together. And, our vision and our ultimate goal is to be number one in the US market. And we're going to do that by making banking simpler on both sides of the equation and really modernizing legacy cores so that banks can focus on being more efficient and secure and resilient.
Welcome to the Tearsheet Podcast. I'm Tearsheet Editor-in-Chief, Zack Miller. Banking software firm Temenos continues to invest and commit to the U.S. market. The firm recently hired Jaqueline White to lead the charge in the Americas. Jacqueline has a strong background in financial services, including stints at software and services firms, and joins me on the podcast today to talk about her mandate in leading Temenos and the firm's relationship with the U.S. market. We also talk a lot about digital banks and SaaS models applied to financial institutions. Jacqueline discusses the impact deposit growth will have on profitability for the industry in the future. Jaqueline White is my guest today on the Tearsheet Podcast.
Hi, Zach. I'm Jaqueline White. I'm president of the Americas for Temenos. I joined at the beginning of 2021. I'm thrilled to be on board. Spent most of my career in financial services, primarily banking and capital markets, and have spent time about half my career in big software companies like Oracle and SAP, and about half in big services companies like Accenture and DXE. And I'm thrilled to be with Temenos at this moment in time, given that it's a pivotal moment in the history of banking.
So I want to hear more about that. It sounds like Temenos, the opportunity at Temenos combines sort of both of those facets of your background. What did you see as the opportunity to take over the Americas?
Right. Great question. So I think all of us, right, everybody in the industry at every level across the spectrum of organizations would agree that last year's unexpected pandemic really accelerated the digital journey that most organizations are on, regardless of size, mission. The pandemic required everyone. And what I'm seeing from the customers that I talk to every day is just take a step back and say, okay, what are we currently offering to our customers? How is that now impacted? And not only how are we going to continue our digital journey, whatever that was, and wherever they might have been on the spectrum of that journey, what is the new normal going to look like? What is that going to mean for the services that we offer our customers? So there's clearly been massive economic upheaval. And banking is very personal, right? It's our money, it's our homes, it's our financial lifeline. And so how do you go from what can become a very impersonal experience and interaction to keeping that personal touch, that high touch with customers at all stages and interactions, right? So everybody's been shifting to digital. That's essential. And the pandemic has just made that more urgent. So we're finding, and I'm seeing personally, that customers want a service that's convenient, that's seamless, that's personalized, right? Think about what we want as individuals, right? We want the friction taken out of our interaction with our financial institution. And that's really what we do at Temenos, right? That's our vision. It's our strategy. It's what we plan to do in the Americas, Canada, US, and LATAM, is to really make banking better together. And, our vision and our ultimate goal is to be number one in the US market. And we're going to do that by making banking simpler on both sides of the equation and really modernizing legacy cores so that banks can focus on being more efficient and secure and resilient.
That's a great vision. And I know last year in our coverage of Temenos, I think the Americas accounted for something like 25% of global revenues, and you had made some acquisitions in the space. Can you talk about the role Americas plays in Temenos Global?
Sure. Let me put ourselves into context in the greater Temenos. So for those who may be unaware, Temenos has been around for almost 30 years. We are 100% focused on banking software, which I think makes us unique. We're not trying to be many things to many people. We want to be the very best banking software provider. I think we're well on our way to proving that. So globally, we have about 3,000 banks worldwide, and 1,300 of those are in the US. And of our almost 8,000 employees, we have about 800 in the Americas. 700 of those are in the US.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the thing that I think I'm most proud of is that our software serves, over 1 billion people, about 1.2 billion people, or 30% of the global banking population on a daily basis, which I think is just amazing, right? It's
That's an
so for
amazing stat.
me, yeah, I mean, I feel really proud. It's one of the reasons that I came to Temenos. I feel really proud about our focus, our laser-like focus, our mission and our strategy. And more importantly, that we have the foundational software in Transact T24 on our back end. That's our core legacy, our core product that really is the central nervous system of the bank. And Infinity, which is our digital front end. So for me, it was, given this moment in time, Temenos really felt like, and continues to feel like, now that I'm here, the right company, the right market, the right products, all those things that are coming together at this unique moment in time.
So let's talk a little bit about your customers. I know in our coverage of Varo, as a digital bank, first challenger in the U.S. to get a national charter. I know Temenos played a role in getting them up and running on their own infrastructure. What does the challenger versus incumbent world look like in the Americas? We don't necessarily like to play that, David versus Goliath thing, because there is like parity there. We use challenger banks just to talk about sort of digital first. So how do you see that playing out with some of the challengers in the U.S.?
Sure. So yeah, challenger banks are here to stay. They're not going away. We're proud that we have, over 60 challenger banks as customers, and we can talk a little bit more about that later. I'm really, really proud of Varo Bank. They made history last year in 2020 by becoming the first fintech to gain national banking charter. And they are a very key and strategic partner for us. And the shift to digital is once in a generation opportunity for growth, right? And they're disrupting the market. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Will there always be a place for traditional brick and mortar banks? Of course there will be, but challenger banks are really, I think, in many instances, serving the underprivileged. So inclusive banks are those that are focused on financial inclusion, and that's important to us at Temenos. It's one of our key and core values as well. And they want to deliver the financial services at affordable costs to disadvantaged and low-income sections of society, and I think that makes us better as a society. So when we think about financial inclusion, a lot of times we're thinking of emerging economies or emerging countries, but there's a huge need for this in the US as well. So about 6.5% of households in the US are unbanked, and about 16% are underbanked. That's a huge challenge, mm-hmm. right? And with all the financial upheaval that the last year has represented and created, and all the economic challenges, we collectively have a responsibility to make sure that every individual in the US and in Canada has the ability to have banking services, right? Access to their money, safe way to deposit, invest, and transact with their money. So we're really proud to be partnered with Varo. We're proud that they have selected Temenos to really bet their technology infrastructure on.
And do you see with your discussions with banks more on the incumbent side of things that they're also considering or more open to launching digital only brands?
Yeah, I think that will be interesting to see, where we go with that. My personal instinct and gut feeling is absolutely that we're headed in that direction. I think, many of us read just at the beginning of the year, a couple of months ago, Walmart is now going to be launching, a financial arm.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's irresistible. One, because of the need, and two, because of the opportunity and potential. So yes, I think that we will see that. And I think what's important is that, these institutions are going to have to achieve rapid cycles of product iteration, and they're going to have technology products that solve real problems for customers. And that's really what we're focused on at Temenos, is delivering exactly that rapid cycle of product iteration.
So it sounds like you're positioning Temenos well in terms of being able to service incumbents and also the challenger brands that I guess get chartered and moving into their own infrastructure, right?
Absolutely. It's one of the things that I love about our company and our brand is that, we are agnostic, right? We we support some of the largest big name brands like HSBC and Citibank, PayPal, Commerce Bank, Ally, and we also are so far and can hope to continue to be, the number one pick for challenger banks and digital front ends like Grasshopper and Varo and EQ Bank.
What about this, I guess, this third entity, which are sort of non-financial companies moving into banking? And by that, I'm thinking of like a, well, they're not actually not non-financial, but like a SoFi or a Square that are getting chartered. Is there an opportunity for Temenos to service those types of companies as well?
Absolutely. And I love that you mentioned that, because again, because we are so focused, right? We're only trying to do key and core things well. We can span across the spectrum of large legacy digital front end, and as you call it, those non-traditional banking entities. And I mentioned Walmart. Walmart would be right in there along with Square and others. Because look, at the end of the day, behind the scenes, under the hood, it's all the same. What a bank, what a financial institution needs
Still
to
need a
do.
ledger. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. It all goes back to the core backbone of the technology that's required. And so, what we're doing is, we're technology agnostic. That's in our DNA. So our software is cloud native, cloud agnostic, multi-cloud, resilient, and delivered as a SaaS, right? As a service or on-prem. So we try to offer the flexibility of our, T24 and Infinity. We've got the product, and then it can be overlaid or embedded in the organization, regardless of size or scale.
So I want to, Jacqueline, go back to a question asked about sort of sidecar brands for incumbents. And what we've seen, and I think this was HSBC was doing this as well, was that they launched a sidecar brand, and through that sidecar brand, embrace the cloud, and then use that sort of as a proving ground, to ultimately move that same technology towards the rest of the bank. Is that sort of description accurate? Are you seeing that in other institutions?
Yeah, almost like an incubator move, right? And we are seeing it. I think there are lots of different strategies. And again, I think Temenos, we have the flexibility, the agility to really accommodate, whatever the approach is, right? We see a lot of the big banking organizations modernizing pieces of their core, and through maybe DDA components, and then we see that incubation, what I call the incubation strategy, which is what I think you kind of just referenced. We see it all, right? Organizations are finding their way through to figure out, what is right for them at this moment in time and how to get where they need to go as quickly as possible on their digital journey.
Yeah, I just thought that incubation strategy was interesting because it enables them to experiment while kind of shielding, the main brand.
Mm-hmm.
So deposits are up across the industry. 2020 was a crazy year, but there were a lot of inflows. But interest rates are quite low. What are you seeing Temenos clients doing in terms of figuring out how to make those deposits more profitable?
Right. So the ebb and flow of deposits prior to the pandemic, deposits grew by, I think it was 4% in 2019, and that was the lowest growth rate, since the recession of 2010. But what we're now seeing is that loan demand, is high, leading to a potential imbalance in liquidity levels. And so in the first 6 months of 2020, since Corona struck, there's been a record 2 trillion surge in cash deposit accounts in the U.S. banking, according to that's FDIC data, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a tsunami of money that's flowing into banks, and it has no precedent, right? There's no precedent for that in history. So last April alone, deposits grew 865 billion, more than the previous year. And the main reason for the growth was because of COVID-19, which, that suppressed spending due to issues mm-hmm. like high unemployment and social restrictions and concerns about long-term growth for in a volatile stock market. So this has led, so suddenly we had in 2019, we had historic lows. Now we have this abundance of deposits, but banks are wary of lending in a recession and are having trouble growing high yield products. Mm-hmm. So our customers are succeeding despite these, these wild swings of the pendulum, right? So Varo became the first fintech to launch as a bank, as we talked about, and has gained customers for life because it's support of PPP lending, mm-hmm. right? And the partnering with Temenos and leveraging our Infinity delivered as a software as a service has been able to allow them to roll out a digital loan application for PPP in just 4 days, and we're really proud of that. So I don't know what else you want to talk about there.
No, I think that's we hit upon that. I want to go back to sort of the positioning of Temenos and banking infrastructure as SaaS. Can we talk a little bit about that trend? Is that a high to figure to experiment with pricing in that way?
Oh, absolutely. That's a key and core component of our strategy for this year. So of course we will always deliver on premise. There will always be a place for that. There will be organizations that always want to keep it in-house on prem. That's fine. But we are seeing in the US, I won't say exclusively, but a huge and high demand for some sort of software as a service hosting on cloud. Cloud, pure cloud or cloud hybrid solution. Mm-hmm. And I think that really goes to again, part of that digital transformation that the industry is going through, that banks of all sizes are going through. And so, again, in a fast changing world, we're technology agnostic. And, our software is cloud native, cloud agnostic, and multi-cloud resilient, delivered as a SaaS solution. So, we are never going to tie ourselves to one platform or vendor. We'll keep finding the best solution for any bank, freeing up time for them really to focus on their core competency.
I'm sorry. I guess drilling down on that question, cloud a few years ago was, wasn't that familiar to banking executives. There's a lot more familiarity with it now. What are some of the pushbacks, I guess, still today that that Temenos might hear from banks not ready to move in that direction?
Well, I think it's all of the it's all of the concerns I think that we've seen, across industries. Customers have issues with, worrying about controlling the data, right?
Mm-hmm.
And compliance, regulatory compliance. But we've come a long way, and I think it's been smart probably for our industry to be more um, maybe cautious adopters, late adopters,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of those issues have been worked out. And I think now we've proven, or it's been proven out, that the cloud is secure. There are benefits to real time and hosting those solutions.
Mm-hmm. Uh, so you started this role of President of the Americas in the beginning of this year, 2021. What are some of your biggest priorities as you start to get more comfortable in the role?
Yeah, love that. Thank you. No, absolutely. Number one priority is that Temenos will be known as the customer-facing, client-focused banking software provider. There's nothing more important to us. We are building out and developing a customer experience organization, so that it's not just about, when issues happen, and they do at times with software. It's not just about logging support tickets and resolving those, but we want to be true partners with our customers. And we want to make sure that they have a one-on-one experience, just like the banks are offering to their customers, so that when there are challenges, we have a very personal touch to escalate and manage the issue resolution cycle and process. But in good times, we're thinking about and talking about innovation. Where do they want to go? Where are they trying to get to? And how do we use technology as an enabler to get to those business drivers? So we want to be seen absolutely as, very, very customer focused. We want our customers to be the happiest customers in the industry and to feel like they have a true innovation partner with Temenos. That's number one. Also, we are very established global company. I think we have a little bit of a branding and perception challenge to overcome in the US. And that's another one of our big initiatives and strategies, is to make sure that everyone understands that we, Temenos, through our products, right? No other solution can do what Temenos Transact can do. And we're in a position to drive monumental and transformational change, helping banks to build a better, stronger sector, right? And we do that because our functionality is adaptable and scalable. And we want to get that message out and make sure that our customers and our prospective clients understand that.
So how are you overcoming the brand perception thing? Because Temenos is relatively new to the Americas, stronger base outside of the US at least. What are some of the methodologies or channels that you're using to bolster the brand in the States?
Sure. So of course we have an omni-channel marketing approach. We of course are participating in all of the industry events and boards throughout the US and Canada and LATAM. But I really think there's nothing that speaks more loudly and more clearly than customer acquisition, right? So partnering with banks like Varo and Grasshopper and EQ and showing from a case study perspective, this is why they chose us. This is what we've been able to do together. And this is why, other organizations could model and do something similar as well. So again, we're all about making customers successful having them be loud and proud of their partnership with Temenos. And really, I don't think there's any other reassurance that a prospective customer could have than existing customers who are confident about their selection and their choice, and are being showcased because of how Temenos is enabling their success.
I feel like we went full circle in our conversation, because I feel like your background in consulting services and software speak exactly to that.
I agree. I agree.
Thank you, Jacqueline, for joining us on the Tearsheet Podcast today.
Thank you so much, Zach. My pleasure.